Okay, folks, I promise I do have the intro working. Let's try this again. And welcome everyone to another exciting adventure on the energy that surrounds us. I'm your host, Michael. Thank you all for tuning in. I know this is a little bit earlier than normal, but I assure you this episode is totally worth watching. You're going to get so much out of this. And so I am so excited and so honored to have our guest tonight on the show. And I'm going to turn it over to her to introduce herself and what she does, because there is no way I could do it any justice whatsoever. So I give you the one, the only quantum connected Era Dayani of Ancient Voice Rising.
Hi, Michael.
Hello.
Well, I have my own podcast on YouTube called Ancient Voice Rising, where I lead raw, authentic conversations. I have guests from all walks of life, and it is a support channel. Let's see. I work with my council that I call the Council of Many Paths, and I have a group on Facebook that I do some work in there through them. And on another channel, YouTube, I have Hera Dayani, where I do readings with them. AncientVoiceRising.com is my website. And I'm trying to think of what else. I just started doing Voice Before Form, which is the divine feminine coming through and creating the oracle deck of the modern day from the ancient voices of the past and the future.
Wow, that's incredible. And one of the things, too, that you do is bridging ancient remembrance with modern living.
Mm.
Well, how did that begin?
So I've always been sensitive to spirit as a child and growing up. But it was always placed on the back shelf. So in 2016, I started waking back up to spirit. I had my life before that and was just going with the flow and doing my thing. Not spiritual, not religious, not really anything. Just living life to the best that I could. Florence hit New Bern, North Carolina, which really shook me. And brought me more into that realm of spirit, and I started doing a little more investigative work. Um, After Florence, we moved an hour north, and I was starting to be surrounded in my bed at night. Things in the house were moving, doors were slamming, and it was extremely scary. So I found a shaman online, and she worked with me a little bit for the first 6 months until I started having very ancient names coming through, like Baal and Mulak, a lot of Canaanites. Um, and she stopped mentoring me. So I did not know what I was doing. So I used these specific energies because I grew up Christian, but I wasn't really Christian, right? So the energies that she introduced me to were biblical. And I started to find that there was so much projections on them that I said, you know what? If this is how we're going to do it, teach me. And so I made them my professor. And I went down that deep, dark rabbit hole of working with so called what religion calls demonic energy, which these were not.
That's a bold choice.
It is a bold choice. I dived headfirst in. But I will tell you that these energies were not as people proclaim them to be. I learned mathematics. I learned so much. If there was something that I was moving through and I needed to learn it, I just called on what I called professors at the time. And it would take a couple weeks working with that energy. And I moved through the first stage of healing, learning how to heal within 6 months. And then I moved through remembering my shamanic roots within 6 months. And then I went straight into cosmic consciousness and started working with cosmic energies, finding missing people with these energies. And so how I bridged it is I had Archangel Gabriel come to me and go, okay, now let's bridge this energy together with Anana, and let's start learning how to work with it. Because when you understand the fundamentals of light and dark, it is as simple as turning on a light, like a lamp, a light bulb. When you're in the light, you're illuminated. So anything that needs to be illuminated in the light will shine. So say if there's something that I need to reflect on or look at within myself, it will be illuminated so that I can see it, so that I can work on that. Or if I'm working with a client, that trauma or whatever it is that we're working on would be illuminated. And so they wanted to teach me the other side as well. So that's where the bridging came into play, because I was walking that middle path.
That's really cool. And I want to take a moment and just acknowledge how amazing and beautiful it is that you were approached by these beings and you didn't judge them by the perspectives of everybody else and our upbringings and you viewed them as who they were, and they
Michael,
became
I
these
felt
great
so much
guys.
love. You can't deny energy. When you feel it from the inside coming out, and then you're enveloped with something that loves you so much that it literally will make you cry because of the love. So, how could I judge that energy?
Right. No, I agree, and I even wrote in one of my books like shadow is not this dark, negative aspect, that it's actually ourself, and it's not dark because if it was dark it would blend into the darkness, but you see it, which means there's light in it. So
Mhm.
therefore we can't judge it as this evil dark entity. That it's, to me, the shadow is actually the balance of the light and the dark, because it's in both worlds as it is. It doesn't need to change to exist.
Mhm.
And so I feel like this is one of those moments where it kind of led you to a term that gets thrown out around a lot, but I don't think a lot of people really understand it. And the notes that's terms like integrity and authenticity, to where we hear them and we're like, oh yeah, I'm doing that,
Mhm.
but a lot of people think they're doing it, but they're not, because they don't really understand. And so I feel like this is, what you went through. Kind of, you're like, this is yeah, that. See, I
Well,
told you that was going to happen.
you have to learn unconditional, and you have to know what unconditional truly is. And there are no conditions, which means there are no judgments. So when you stand in that velocity of presence and you interact in that manner, knowing that they are all energy, is there's no hierarchy in it. There's no hierarchy in unconditional love. And that's what I've been taught, is to remain in that state.
And that's a beautiful thing. And I think that's needed on this new Earth realm that we're on, because the old ways of the 3D is not serving us anymore, because we're in to the 4D, moving on our way up the scale, so to speak. And I'm starting to think like 4D, 5D, those are all just titles that we're giving ourselves, and it's all the same energy. It's just our awakening, the level is, awareness is different, so we name it something. But
My guides told me that you have to be in the seventh dimension to even come to Earth. So I'm working in nine, if you want to put a dimension on it. I don't really put dimensions on as
yeah,
far when it comes to spirit. Um,
I've also heard density, and so I
yeah,
think it's becoming interchangeable with just energy levels. And the
I
Earth
think the
is,
language is starting to shift.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I also got to say, I love the fact that your council is called the Council of Many Paths,
Mhm.
because that's really what life is it's different paths, and we're constantly, making a left, that's a new path, going right, that's a new path, going straight's a new path, turning around is a new path. You can't ever take a step without starting a new path. So I think that's really cool that they chose that name.
Well, when I was speaking with them, because I have millions, Um, they come from all over the galaxy, and they're ancestors, and they're earth beings, and they're cosmic beings, and they're galactic beings. And it's no different from what we have inside of our bodies, the innate divine wisdom that we hold in our DNA. um, and they would present as like the oracle, or um, I have a I was working when I was going remembering the shamanic, because I guess I had done that in another life. um, I was going through that. I had an indigenous guide come through, and he gave me Diane. He gave me the name Diane, which means deer. Um, so, yeah, it was only fitting for me to not give them specific names, because I I truly don't see them with specific names. They're energies and vibrations that vibrate with a name or a number or a color, um, or you might say a civilization, a religion, a tradition, a culture, a technique.
That makes sense. And I'm kind of curious because a lot of people, when, doing this type of work, have instances in their childhood that kind of, when they look back, are like, oh, that was a catalyst that started this change and this set this course in motion. And so this is where I'm at today. And I'm kind of curious if you had an aha moment or a moment in your childhood where you're like, if it wasn't for this moment, I wouldn't be doing this today.
Well, when I was a baby, my mom went downstairs and went into the basement to get my bottle. That she had them in a fridge down there. And there was a lady standing there at the bottom of the steps, and she handed my mom the bottle. And she was a spirit. And my mom said that the light in my eyes changed immediately after I drank the bottle.
That sounds kind of cool, actually.
So, I was when I was a child, I was either in a tree or out in the woods behind my house making forts, and never wanted to come inside. So there were many instances as a child. There were things that were going on in my family that I don't know that me and my mother and my brother would still be here. Um, if I did not, if I was not going to be led to where I am now. And I go back and I look at that now and I go, okay, you were there all along. Um,
Yeah, and is there an impact that you feel like, you know, having that experience at such a young age, growing up the way you did? Did you feel like an outsider? Did you feel like,
oh, absolutely.
why can't that be normal?
Hmm. Yeah, I wasn't normal, and I didn't feel normal. Um, I led, I was in the nightclubs by the time I was 15. I was owning and operating them by the time I was 20. Um, and there wasn't anything but normalcy. I really had to go through the trenches and go through, it felt like lifetimes of different things um, that I needed to go through in order for when I was really going to be um, in it. I call it when I said, okay, fine, I'm in it. That's my awakening. I was like, fine, just stop circling me.
Well, and one thing I find interesting in transparency for everyone watching, I was talking with her about this before we went live, and I feel like everyone that I've talked to that has dragon energy or dragons around them
Mhm.
have a similar story of going through the trenches. And so I feel like that's, is that like, do you feel like that could be the path to obtaining and opening yourself up to that energy, or that going through that opened you up to the awareness that they were there and accepting them in?
I think you have to experience so many conditions to bring you close to their vibration, so that you can be actually aware of it. It is a vibration that is uncomprehendable. We hear, okay, we hear individuals speaking about dragons, and they're cute and cuddly and all of this. Um, but it is a vibrational and physical initiation. Like, I've never, like, in all of my years of research and all of that, I it is, I don't even know how to, it's hard to even put into words how strong of initiation it is in order to get to be able to hold that vibration and to actually truly communicate with that ancient frequency that was here before anything else.
I would agree with that. And I think there's a sort of responsibility energy wise that comes with it, because I find a lot of times when I'm in situations and I feel like I'm about to be cornered energy wise into something, and I'm like, I will feel the dragon energy in me rise, and it's like, okay, you either walk away now or this is gonna happen. And it's like there is no like gray area with the energy. It's like you
No,
either is or it isn't.
right.
And once it's out, it's out. And it's like, so it's like I feel like there's a,
Well, it can be tempered.
it
You
can.
can, yeah, and once you get to a certain vibrational state where you can kind of get that equilibrium of that vibration, of that frequency, um, then there is a tempering stage.
Yeah. And what I'm also referring to is like I was in a situation recently where I was feeling like I was just getting pushed around and manipulated and being, talked down. And the energies were like, we've had enough, and the dragons were like, we've had enough.
Mhm.
You either start telling the truth and start being honest, or we will raise this building to the ground. And it was like, I could feel, and I'd be like, going, calm down, let's give them a
Breathe.
chance. But it's like, yeah, that's what I mean by you have to be aware and not just, somebody who's going to go, oh yeah, I got this energy and just let it go and do whatever it wants. You have to take some responsibility to it.
Well, they hold you extremely responsible. And to truly be able to step into that, I'll say it again because they're emphasizing um, that there is that temperance stage so that there is no blurred lines there, because it can be that energy can be misused, and it is not something that is to be taken lightly.
Right. And I will reiterate, they are really cute when they're small.
They
They're
are.
cuddly.
Yeah.
There is that stage.
When the black one came in, my daughter walked down the steps one day, and I um, was just starting to work with that inner energy field. And she says, Mom, you've got a small black dragon on the steps now. And I was like, Are you sure that's for me? And she goes, Yeah, that it's just leaning up against the steps. And it was probably about 2 feet high. But they go to school, they come and meet you and they say hello, and you get to love them a little bit, and then they go off to school, and then it's a year later they're full grown.
Oh, it is fast, and
Yeah.
your energy with them blends fast too. Because I noticed, yeah, it's like a blink of an eye in time that it's like you meet them, and then it's like, oh, we're one and the same now. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I notice like a lot of people have affinity to different color tones to the dragons. And I feel like either that's elemental dragon or I almost want to say dimensional because energy wise, because I know, like you're saying, you saw a black dragon. That doesn't mean like what we would term as black as being
It was
the dark.
feminine.
That it that the color schemes, I feel like this has something to do with elements and dimensions, but
Well, yeah, I mean, different, so in our scope of perception, we could identify red dragons as fire dragons. Um, a blue dragon could be water, as well as a light blue would be air. And then, you've got your violet, flame, or lilac. I work with a lilac fire. So
mhm.
there are multi different colors, but they all kind of coincide with, like, if you think of archangels, um, or saints that hold violet flames, if you will, they all kind of coincide with stuff like that. They have specialties.
Well, and one thing that I experienced, and I'm not sure if you have, or if this is common knowledge and I'm just thinking because I rarely get to talk about dragons with people like this, that I'm thinking, ooh, I got a upper hand on something and I really don't. But not, it's like, we're so accustomed through TV, books, fairy tales, and movies that dragons breathe fire. And that's not necessarily true. They all don't. I think that
Mhm.
I've met dragons that breathe ice,
Mhm.
that breathe water,
Yeah.
and blow air. I mean, as funny as that sounds, but yeah, you could be standing in front of a dragon and you just get this whiff of air go by, and you're like, "Did you
Yeah.
just growl at me?" And they're like,
They'll flip you
"Yeah."
around too. Yeah. They'll amp up your adrenaline and they'll spin you and breathe air around you, which amps up your energy so that they can be in your space. That's how they'll raise your vibration. And they'll do it with water too, and they'll do it with earth energy as well, woods and metals. So you've got all of your scope of elements in there. Just like with the elementals, they are a part of the elements.
Yeah. And I feel like as we're growing and walking on our paths, that as are the dragons, that you know, going to the TV show Avatar, where you have this one child that can access air element, wood or the earth element, fire element, and water element, masters them all, and can enters what's known as the Avatar state, which is the spirit state. I feel like the dragons have the same thing, that when they reach a certain state that they can enter into a spirit state. And I always find it interesting when you look at the cultures around the world, when they're talking about gods and spirit energies, the most common creature or animal or being, however you want to call it, is a form of a dragon.
Mm,
And so I find it interesting how that has spread throughout the land. And then you'll get to certain areas where they're more trying to be controlled. And what is the one element there? They hunt the dragons and are afraid of the dragons. And so I find that, interesting how seeing that lay out in certain areas of the world and going, wow, is this for real? Is this, really unfolding this way? And, awareness of this? Or is this my mind trying to make sense out of something that never was meant to make sense out of, one of those.
yeah, it's not something to be um, completely understood. We can't comprehend it. Now, they have found archae- archaeological artifacts in the land of actual, what would, I guess, have been skeletors of what we perceive as dragons. Um, when you work in the different states of consciousness, you know that intelligence is coming from this ancient part of the right bottom half of your brain. Um, does it say that they're not outside of us as well? I believe that they are, and we work cohesively, in coherence with one another.
I kind of feel like the dragons are kind of like the Bigfoots, where they're an interdimensional creature now, as we would call them creatures. I don't. mean to offend them by saying they're a creature. They're a
Well, they're
being.
guardians.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, they're
But
pillars of guardians.
I feel like they ascended off of the planet and come back through portals or other means to help those around that still, I want to say, have the blood of, but I don't know that it's really the blood of, but the energy of mixed into the blood that
It's DNA.
allows the connection. Oh, it is DNA.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was shown when I was going through that shift with them. Um, it was DNA. Um, there's a there is a DNA connection to that species, into that intelligence.
Okay, that's really cool. And so, do you feel like working with the dragons and your experiences growing up and everything kind of gave you the insights to figure out how to kind of do like shadow work of like surrendering elements of our past that no longer serves us? So, learn to clear those out and make room for new paths?
Um, I think when you wake up to that part of yourself and to those interdimensional, multidimensional energies, um, I totally lost it. I'm trying to interpret what they're saying, but it's not in English. Will you kind of go back into the question a little bit for me?
So when you having the dragon energies and connection with them and the experiences you had growing up
Hmm.
forged you to where you could see outdated patterns and outdated forms of living that you were like, hey, time to surrender these to make new ones. These no longer serve. So, do you feel like all of that combined helped you with that insight, or do you think that insight would have came along anyway?
I think the insight would have came along anyway. I think this is my path, my journey that I walk, and this is where I'm. This is I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and absolutely, I do. Um, the they're here to help us. That energy is here to assist us, and knowing that you have that running through your body, your physical point of perception, your body, um, and running outside of you in codes. Yeah, you do tend to learn to surrender and um, trust that what you're going through um, is bringing forth something that can only be surrendered to.
And I know we talked about the dragons, kind of come through the DNA and you can connect with them that way. But is, let's say, you have somebody who's just starting to wake up and they're like scared and they're like, hey, I'm calling out for help. Will the dragons come and help them as well, or do they stick to their own, so to speak? In other words, do you have to be special lineage
No,
to connect to the dragons, or anyone?
no, no, you don't. You don't have, you're not a chosen one. There are no chosen ones. No, you don't. It's not a speciality. It's how deep are you willing to go into your psyche and into your energetic field, and then into the energy around you, into the realms around you. How many holes are you willing to dive head first into?
Yeah. I just wanted to ask that for because I had a feeling that people watching this may be like, oh, well, it's in their DNA, so I won't ever be able to connect to a
No,
dragon. So I was trying to make clear for everyone watching that anyone can.
anyone can. Yes, you. So there's a book called Sophia's Code, and that helps you. Um, that really helps you connect in, and it is a journey of a lifetime. It's not a sit down and read a book and then move on about your business. Everything that you read and the codes that you ingest into your energetic system is a journey unto itself. You're talking about the womb of creation when you get into that.
And so, with the emotional, multi-dimensional, if I could get the right wording out, insight and growth, we are, entering a new phase on what we call the Earth realm, and I'm just kind of curious because we're seeing a surgence of dragons around and the energies of dragons around, that as we're getting closer to 7D or their energy levels, are they coming in more to help lift up for the last big, kind of push, and those that are ready are going, and those who aren't, they'll make their way or stay where they are?
I think it's on an individual basis, but they hold the planetary's grid. Um, so um, I'm trying to see how to put this into human words. Um, I can't put it into, I can't put that into words. Um, my suggestion would be to, if you're interested in getting to know it's a feeling, it's a vibration, and it's it's booming. So it's hard to interpret and channel. Um, my advice, if you would like to get in touch with that ancient part, that deep ancient part of yourself, of your consciousness, I would get the Sophia Code. But before you read it, I would sit down and call the common elements your fire, water, earth, air, right? And feel each element come in separately from, and make sure that you have a glass of water because you're going to need it.
Oh yeah.
Um, I would do some visualization of you can picture the dragon as you want to. They don't care. Um, as an air dragon, you could have one coming up over the mountains, flying down, sitting in front of you, and feeling its breath. And the same with the fire. You would have one coming up and have it um, allow you to feel the heat of the element. And the same with the water. You could have one coming up out of like the ocean and have it walk up to you and sit with you and feel the element of water and so on. And you could do that with the earth and wood and metals and go down the line. And I would do that. My advice would be to do that over about a 6-month period of time in our time and space. Um, and then know and intend that they're there. And you're going to feel them because once you introduce yourself to that, they're there. They are your family, your friends. People misunderstand them.
That I agree. And one question I have for
They're so
your
loving.
they are, and I had an experience a few years ago where I was on water and the element of water surrounded me and healed part of my body.
Mm.
And I often, I thought, blindly, I was just like, oh, I was on water. So I just literally just took the water that was around me and just healed myself with that. But I never thought about could it have been a water dragon that came and surrounded and ate and progressed and did the healing to it. And so I was just curious if your dragons had any insight into, was
Well,
it a dragon that came and helped, or was it just the element of water?
did you feel a dragon?
To be honest, I have been around them all along, all since I was a child. So
Mhm.
they're kind of like second nature being here. Like I have one right
Yeah,
next to me right now, but
yeah.
it feels no different. So that's why I now it's like triggered in my head of was there a dragon there, and it was just helping me heal, and I just never noticed it because I was caught up in another part of the experience, and so it's like little clips of little glimpses. It's like I start to go, was it? Did I? And that's where I'm like, and I get hung up sometimes on those because those can be endless rabbit holes.
Well, they can be, and you also have other energies that work with the dragons as well that, are kind of lumped into, like, you have archangels and other energies or frequencies that and elements and directions that will um, work with that intelligence to and that element to heal. So yeah, very well could have been along with another guide of yours. Um, Dragon medicine is undeniable. If you've been touched by a dragon, you know it. It's undeniable. You cannot deny it.
No, I know, and as like the picture of my background that I have right now, the virtual background is a wolf and a dragon.
Mm,
I have dragon energy around me, but I also have wolf energy around me, and so sometimes I'll even merge the two pictures into one and make like a wolf dragon.
mm,
And I feel like I have a high ability to heal faster than normal.
mm,
And I've always heard that as a trait to the wolf. So I just
mm.
attributed it to the wolf. And now that I'm starting to learn more about the dragons, I'm like, has a lot of what I've been attributing to the wolf really been the dragon?
It could very well be. Yes. Yeah. I'm hearing yeah. Yes.
So
Yes to your question.
yeah, and so that's the beauty of what we're doing and how we're growing is like you said in the beginning, we don't have all the answers.
Mm-mm.
We're constantly learning, and so stories and experiences change and grow as well. And so that's what I loved, talking with people about this is because I get new insights into old memories and get a whole new take, and now I get like a whole new introspect, and I'm like, ooh, now I get a whole new area to play in.
So you can ask them to take you in while you're sleeping. You can have them take you into their school, into Lokame, and um, teach you. It's more of a training type of thing, um, and they will. If I mean, their love, the energy is so loving. Um, some are disciplined, very disciplining, um, because you have to be disciplined to work with such ancient energies.
Oh yeah. And so we are like 7 minutes from the hour,
Okay.
and I just wanted to make note of that and to give you a chance to, if there's anything you wanted to share or they wanted to share or anything you wanted to promote, to give you a chance and some time to do that.
Um, I have my website back up, ancientvoicerising.com. On there, it has pretty much everything that I do. It'll guide you to my YouTube channels. It'll guide you to my Facebook. Um, I have some healing. I have one healing session on there and one oracle card reading um, service. And I think that's pretty much it. They are they're helping, they're assisting with the what's going on, and they don't want you to fear that energy, because they're not about fear mongering you. Um, it is to assist in your evolution, into your growth, into who you are and who you're becoming every breath that you take.
Very cool. And I thank them for that. And
They say you're
it's
very welcome.
one of my favorite lines that kind of like is a mantra for me comes actually from a science fiction movie from the 80s they're redoing right now, Dune. And that is fear is the mind killer. And I keep that in mind because it reminds me, when I start getting afraid of something or getting caught in the narrative of, I can feel the fear coming, going, wait a minute, this is the mind killer. Nope, nope, nope. We're not buying into this. Nope.
Well,
Like,
healthy fear is good. Healthy
oh
fear
yeah,
is good. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
like I'm not gonna
Gaze at
go to
the
a
world
stove
unafraid.
and put my hand on a stove and go, oh, I burned myself.
Right.
I'm gonna be like, no, that fear of burning myself. I'm like, that's okay. I'm good with that. But yeah, not the collective of everything around, getting swallowed up in that. And
Mm.
there's some discernment that I think people need to learn. And one of the aspects of that I always found interesting is when I was growing up, I would always hear women's intuition. And I would say, well, don't men have intuition? They go, no, they have a gut. And I'm like, oh. And so I thought gut, instinct, and intuition were two separate things. And
Oh.
thought, how, that's not really, that's kind of one sided and unfair that you guys have intuition and we don't. And then I realized when I grew up now, I'm like, it's the same thing.
Well, everyone has feminine and masculine energies, logic versus and intuition. Your masculine is logic and your feminine is intuition.
Yeah.
And it is in your unconscious, your subconscious, your consciousness, your um, limbic, and all of that. And yes, it does live in the gut as well. So you've got the mind, heart, and gut. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I just thought it was funny how people get hung up on terms, and
yeah.
it's like it's the same thing. You learn and you go, and then you feel like, I can't believe I wasted like 20 years researching, trying to prove and define one thing to find out they're the same identical thing. It's just labeled different.
Yeah, four sections of the brain, and you've got, yeah, everybody has masculine and feminine, and it's it's no it's there's no separation between them.
Yes. Well, thank you for coming on.
You're
And
welcome. Thanks for
I
having
just,
me.
yes, and for full transparency, both of us are a little bit off right now. And so that's why, one, we're kind of ending a little bit early.
Mhm.
But two is, I just love how the universe works, because we got up this morning and we were like, I don't know, man. And then it was like, oh no, we're good. As long as we can do this, we're good. And so I just want to say thank you for coming on and sharing with us. And I know you're not feeling 100%, but
Mhm.
thank you for coming on and sharing, even though you're not at 100%.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's my honor to be here. Yeah, it's been a few days of some energetic stuff going on, and which is causing my body to react. And so I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do it, but I thought, you know what? No, let's go ahead and give it a shot. So we did
Yes.
good. Yeah. Thank you.
And
Thank you,
yeah.
Kelsey.
And just so everybody knows, I didn't tell her she had to come on.
No, he
I
didn't.
actually told her she could skip and we would reschedule.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, my guys were like, no, it's okay. We got you. We got you. Yeah. No, go ahead and do it. And I was like, all right. So,
Yes,
and I did. I felt better.
and thank you. And I'm glad you're feeling better, and
Yeah.
can hope that you continue to get better. And my self has a message for you.
Okay.
And that is, from my heart and the heart of my shows to you. Thank
Mm,
you for what you're doing for humanity. It's seen, felt, and appreciated.
you're welcome. It's my honor. I'm a being of service. I was placed here to be a being of service.
Yes, and everyone, if you get a chance, do go check out Ancient Voice Rising. A lot of great material there,
Mm,
and if you get a chance to get a reading, do get one. They are amazing and very insightful. And so, with that, I am going to say goodnight to everyone. Have a wonderful day, if depending on where you are in the world, or evening. And with that, we are
Thank
going
you.
to say hope to everyone and blessings to you all,
Yes, joy, joy, joy. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. You're all doing great. You're doing magnificent.
as are you.
Thank you.
All right, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Oh, this seems to be the night. Okay, let's try this again.